Next is report. This is again another good place to go to when you're reconciling costs for franchisees. And we'll get into that a little bit more. I'll show you the transaction report and the value that it has there. The My Invoices, again, ignore that because we don't do invoicing out of the InXpress system. Tools, just a couple of tools that you've got here. One is the calculator, and two is zip code lookup finder that you can utilize. The next is my account, and again, this is more of an administrative place to go when you go and change different things. We'll touch base on this as well. And then lastly, and just as important as everything else, is this one here, the training video. I'll just go here quickly. So once you get your login, or I'll send you late today after the call. By just going to the training video and clicking this, you can go and watch any topic that you want on a video. They're all between 2 and 5 minutes. It's a great resource for you to go. And you know, if you haven't had to modify it way recently, you've forgotten how you go, if you watch that video, and then that will trigger your memory on how it's done in the system. So that's a great resource center. You'll be able to go back and reference any questions you have on how to do anything within the system. Are there any questions that I can explain?
Very friendly user system. It's part of their report installing, and it's going to be my concern. But I think the more I get to know the system, I will clarify my doubts on it. But yeah, I will run into that if we get to that part. Okay.
Okay. Sounds good. So to start, we'll just go into how to get a quote, and that leads us into how to process the shipment. So again, it's get pricing. This quote is historical quote. So just by clicking on get pricing, it takes us to a new screen, and this screen will take us all the way from getting the quote and into finalizing the pickup list to the carrier. So I'll let you put in our information. So I'll put in a couple of zip codes here. Put in our class and the weight. So this system will also help confirm the density of the shipment if the product is density based. So if it is density based, you can put in the total number of pallets and the dimensions.
I got a question there, Steve.
What's that?
I have a question there.
Yeah, you bet.
All your pricing is based on density, or is the FHA negotiated?
It's all based on actual class.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, class and NMFC number, and then within the NMFC number, like plastic articles, everything that's plastic and that falls under plastic articles is density based. And so, when you have those types of commodities, this is a good tool because it figures out the density for you here, 10.2. You can apply that to the density scale for that commodity, and then you just go back and change this class to 100. Okay. This new class over here is just based on the overall density of the shipment. You always want to make sure you use the actual class that you know the shipment is. So if you put in the dimensions and it's not a density-based item, and we know that the class is say 70, but the density is saying, well, based on a 10.2, you'd be at class 100. You can ignore that because you know it's not density-based. You just got the actual class.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Yeah, good question. And then we've got all the different extra services that you can add. If if the customer needs that, we can add those into the quote. Let's say it's going to go landscape delivery and residential delivery. Once you've got that information in there, we're pretty much set to go on getting our pricing. So one other thing that we can offer, the franchisees can offer, is they would turn on this insurance option. And so if they've turned that on for the customer, all you have to do is click this box here, put in the amount that they need the insurance for, and then fill out these other boxes. In most cases, general merchandise, stands out, then you'd have to select that one. But in most cases, general merchandise is what is shipped. And then the packaging category is in most cases professionally packed by the shipper. This is not a changeable option here under coverage options. We just leave that as is. And then all I do is click get pricing. And what happens now is, yeah, go ahead.
I'm sorry, Steve. I was going to ask you, do you guys give access to your TMS to your customers, or you guys handle pretty much everything during the whole process?
It depends on the franchisee and it depends on the customer. So, for example, in my franchise, because I'm full time here at the support center, I really direct my customers to use it on their own. I have a few that will reach out to my sales rep, and my sales rep will help them with their processing. And you'll find that within the franchises. So, for example, Kristen and Philip, they're more hands-on, so they may have more customers that will reach out to them directly for pricing and to process the shipment. But we encourage our franchises to give their customers access to the system as much as possible, because that allows the customers to be self-sufficient. Our systems are good enough that they can get everything they need right there. Then our franchises can just spend more time growing the business. But there are some that will to win the business, they'll offer that white glove type service where they'll go the extra mile and process the shipment for them.
Of course. And whenever your customer is entering a shipment, you guys receive a notification of the load center on your system, or how does it work?
Yeah, I'll show you in the system where that's at. Good question. And yeah, you can be notified anytime a shipment's processed.
Excellent.
So I clicked this Get Pricing button, and while we were talking, we've got a bunch of prices that have shown up here for us. And just a quick explanation on the system. So again, this system will electronically go out to each of the carriers based on our pricing agreement, pull back pricing, and then if it's a customer that's logged in, it will pull back the customer's pricing based on how much market the franchisee gave to a customer. And I'll go through that in the account setup process. But so basically now the customer at this point can look at the different options they have. And what you're looking at is the corporate level. So with Echo, for example, this is not released to our franchises. For the most part, we're still doing some development with them. But since we're at the corporate view, you'll see some maybe options to do what you see at the franchise level. But you can see that they've got different pricing options that would include the lift gates and residential delivery. Another nice thing here is because it's all live quoting, the systems will pull back quote numbers from each of the systems, so that if there is a discrepancy, we've got that quote ID number. You'll be able to see here the pricing, the estimated transit time, and of course the terminal origin and destination in case we need to get a hold of them. As you know, if they need a lift gate to pick up, it's always a good idea for a carrier to make sure they've got a lift gate in that area to make that pickup that day. Just point out here, so in AccuFreight, this system is different than our other systems that we have. So like the Mercury Gate, which we kind of talked about, which is supported by Blue Grace Logistics, all of the tariffs or all the pricing agreements in the Mercury Gate system are owned by Blue Grace Logistics. So if there's a question about a price, or if there's a discrepancy, then we just reach out to Blue Grace and we'll work through them to get the pricing, the questions answered. We don't go directly to the carriers for the pricing questions because the pricing goes through one of our partners. In AccuFreight, the pricing is all going to be dependent on this tariff information underneath carrier description. For example, the top option here, InXpress, if we had a question on the pricing or if there was a discrepancy on the shipment, we would get a hold of GLT. They are a logistics company that has a handful of pricing agreements that they put into AccuFreight. For another example, if we had a question on an Echo, we would get a hold of Echo on that pricing.
And Steve, I have a question there.
Yeah.
We're very familiar with GLT and Echo, but in your system, all the LTL minimums and maximums for capacity LTL are within the system, right? And if it is a volume quote, immediately the system will not allow you to quote that shipment, right?
Here's what we'll do. So if we change this to 7 pallets,
okay,
it'll open up this warning. So you know, anything over 6 pallets or 12 linear feet, you know, it's recommended that they go to their representatives. In this case, it would be either to the franchisee or to you know, the lead staffing employee that's helping that franchisee to get a spot for it.
Excellent.
So you will see, let me change it back here. Sometimes the pricing agreements will go above and beyond that 6 pallets and, you know, 9,999 pounds. So in this case, an Express agreement will allow up to 20 linear feet, but they've got some other specifications that you have to stay within. So just be aware of that. Sometimes you can find a quoted amount for larger shipments that you could use on that chart. So, for example, if we go to this XPO Logistics Exact Direct, if it doesn't have anything stated, then we know we don't want to go over 6 standard pallets or 12 linear feet with that contract. If the customer wants some guaranteed options, all you have to do is scroll down to find where there would be a guaranteed option in this system. I'm just trying to scan through. Here we go. So where my cursor is on now, this Cardinal carrier, they have guaranteed service.
Mm-hmm.
So if they needed a guarantee, they could just go with that option if they wanted to guarantee the 2-day transit. And then they would have to, you know, guarantee by 5 p.m. on the bill of lading when they complete that shipment. So that's a good option that they have there as well. This may be, if you haven't seen InXpress before, kind of new. It was new to me to see like multiple FedEx options and multiple Express options. That's just because we've got agreements with various companies like GLT and Exact Direct that have different pricing agreements, and then of course the agreements are not going to be the same, you know, discounts, minimums in different lanes. So based on where customers should be coming to, of course, you know, the GLT Express might be best on this one, but another one might be this Express Express with 1A intermodal. So that's why there's multiple options with the same carrier. And it just allows our customers and our franchisees to get the best pricing that's available in the marketplace.
Steve, from time to time, customers are requesting air freight rate. Do you have any in your system at all?
Not in our LTL system, but I will send you a contact list of air freight and truckload and expedited and white glove carriers that our franchisees have access to. And when you're talking to the franchisees that come on board, that would be a good question to ask them. You know, when they say, okay, these are the customers that we're going to work with you on, just find out who they prefer to go to. They might say, you know, check with this carrier and this carrier on this air freight quote when these quotes come in. So,
I'm sorry. Most of the quotes requests are going to be through the email, right?
I would assume so. Yeah. Again, that would be directed by the franchisee, but I think most of them right now it's via email, and so it just works the same. Correct.
Sure. Excellent. Thank you.
You bet. So at this point, all we need to do is just save, or you can either save the quote up here on my cursor. You can email the quote if you want, or print it. But if you want to process the shipment, you can go ahead and do that now as well. And to do that, all you have to do is come over to the DOL column and click on this little DOL icon. And once you click on that, it's just going to open up some additional screens right here on the same page. Again, this is the same page that we started at when we went to get pricing. All of a sudden, just opened up additional information for us. So we're not having to go to different screens. We just are on the same screen, making it easy and you know, very user friendly. So another nice thing about this system is once you put in a company's information on a shipment, it will give you that option in the future when you're shipping from a certain zip code. So because we've done demos in here before, I'll just click on that. It auto-populates everything here for us. You can click on this box here if you want to email the bill of lading and label directly to the shipper. That'll take care of it for you. And then once that's all completed, the consignee, again, we're going to fill all that information. We've done demos here before, so we can click on that and fill everything in for it. If you need to email bill lading and label for the receiver, you can do that as well by clicking that box. And then we've got information for PO numbers, reference numbers, any type of information they need to have on the bill of lading. We'll put that in here. And then as we continue to scroll down, we see the different services that we requested in the quote, as well as our quote number. And if you need to add anything, you know, any information that we want to have on the bill of lading, you can add that on the special instructions. And then we just put in the number of pieces, the type of packaging, a description, and then any if it's you know, then the MLSC number. So once all that's in there, that's everything that's needed for the bill of lading. Then we just continue to scroll down just a little bit more here, and we've got the pickup details. So we can confirm the date of pickup. We can say it's going to pick up Friday, and then pick your window. Of course, the carriers look the same way as you're used to. You know, we have used to 2-hour window, so we'll just say between 12 and 4 p.m. And then it has our quoted amount here, and because we're again with the support center level, we've got the cost here from the support center. So, for example, if you're processing a shipment at the franchisee level, and maybe quote the customer $400 for the shipment, you can just go in and change that, and then that will, in the reporting, that will come up that way once we need to get to that point. So, if you need to change the sell price to the purchase, if you pay the invoice, you can do that right there. So you can, two other options, you've got your print shipping label. You need to do that. Mark has hot shipments. By clicking this, all that this does is in the AccuFreight system, when you look at the tracking, it'll mark everything in red. It won't change anything with the carrier. It will make it go faster or deliver any type of different service. All it's doing is allowing you to see it in red in the system. So maybe you've got a trade show shipment or something that's got a definite delivery date. You could click that box, and then that just when you're, you know, reviewing the shipments each day, you can see anything that marks red. Okay, that's one that I definitely need to go in and check each day to make sure that it's moving on as it should. The last option here is the auto dispatch. So this is what you want to click to electronically schedule a pickup with the carrier. For demo purposes, I won't click this, so I don't want to send an actual pickup notification to the carrier. The last thing is we clicked on the quote screen up here, the extra insurance, and this insurance is not the carrier insurance, it's not their general liability. This is a third-party full coverage insurance that we can offer to our customers. It's much less expensive than the carrier rate. So, and plus the coverage is far better than the general liability that the carriers are required to have on the shipment. So, if the customer did want to buy the insurance, I have to click buy and then put in the description, and then you're good to go on that. Again, I don't want to create an insurance certificate, so I'm just going to unclick that for this demo purpose. And then the next thing we'll do is we'll click submit. Before I click submit, does anyone have any final questions before I leave the screen?
I guess my only question would be, every carrier, if, for example, you miss the pickup, what will be the process of the notification? Should we use the system or should we call them to reschedule the service? How do you guys usually do it?
Yeah, if a pickup's missed, I would always just put a call into the carrier. And in those things, the logistical things to schedule a pickup, check a delivery, anything that, pertains to the actual logistics of the shipment, you can always reach out to the carrier directly. It's only when it's a pricing question or like a rating dispute that we would reach out, in this case, to our tariff provider, or if it was in the Mercury Gate, we would reach out to Blueberry. But yeah, so in this case, I would call the carrier for pickup.
Excellent. Thank you.
So once we click submit, everything's going to be completed. If we had the auto dispatch checked, we would have a pickup number that would come back. If we had selected the insurance on the screen, we would also have an insurance certificate number. So right now we just have the bill of lading number. It's been completed. If we, again, have the pickup confirmed, we have the confirmation number right there. But since we didn't click that, that's not shown here. And then also, once you click that confirmation to complete the bill of lading, a PDF will pop up. It just happened to pop up on my other screen. We have the bill of lading here. You can see everything we had on the shipment. It's got the local terminal number. It's got the internal bill of lading number from AccuFreight assigned here. It's got our pickup and delivery information, the services, the extra wording I put in for special instructions on where to deliver the shipment. And it's got our reference numbers listed out here. It's got the NMST number. NMST number, the weight, everything listed out here. It's also got a third-party bill too, so if there is a rating issue or a dispute or anything we need to work through, we go through GLT. We based out of Miami. So that's the bill of lading, and at that point you can email it or print it out, and the customer can give it to the carrier. Of course, it's critical that they get our bill of lading, because if they don't, of course, then the pricing may not be guaranteed, and we have to try to get that rebilled. If we do need to get it rebilled, we go again to that tariff provider. In this case, it was GLT. So just to kind of show you a few things, so I clicked OK, and I'm going to go to the tracking. I'll just show you, just kind of go down the thing. So this again is just all the historical quotes. You can see all the different ones that we've got here. This is one that we just did here live. You can view the class the way that you record things at. You have dimensions, it'll list that out in the accessorial. It's got the create date. If you want to rerun the quote, or if you want to print it, we don't have the ability to create the bill of lading because we've already created it on this one. But if you wanted to, you could create the bill of lading. If you get a quote one day and then come back a day later, the system will require you to rerun the quote, because again, these are live rates from all the carriers, and they could get, a fuel surcharge might change by a 1/10%, and so they'd have to rerun the quote, and your rate may change by, 1/10 or something in that case. So just again, as a side note, make sure you talk to your franchisees. Most will honor a quote out of AccuFreight or any of our systems for a week for a customer. And just check that with the franchisees. They may have different, procedures as far as how long they'll honor a quote for. But just to show you kind of another good thing here, so under tracking, this is where you'll find a lot of value in the system. So by just going to AccuLTL and tracking, we can see the very most recent one is the one that we created. Again, this one is in red because I clicked the mark hot shipment, so everything's in red. And it's got all the details here for us. If we had a pickup number, so like if you look at this one right below from KAF Group, it's got the actual pickup number from UPS Freight. So it's WBU number, that's directly from UPS in the system, confirming back the pickup number. So that's all that information right there. If you need to reprint the bill rating, you can just go to that icon there. You can do shipping labels. You can do email documentation. You can go back and look at the quote details. And then this truck here icon, if you needed to dispatch the shipment, like for example, if the pickup was missed, you do have the option to go to the system and click that truck icon, and it will ask you this question. And then if you click yes, it'll give you some verifications of the date and times that you're going to want the pickup to be scheduled. So you could do it through the system, but my personal recommendation is pickup missed. I would just like to touch base with the carrier, make sure they're going to get in their room for the next day, so that the customer or the shipper doesn't see that pallet sitting on their dock for too long.
Hey, Steve.
One other option that we do have is this X. So if we click this X, this will delete the bill rating out of the system, which when we finish this demo, I'll just go ahead and delete it out. And as you do practice shipments, again, don't click the auto dispatch. And then once you've completed the shipment and done everything you wanted to, you can just come over here to the X and click that X, and that'll cancel that bill rating out.
Hey, Steve, before we move on, I've got a quick question for you as well. So what happens after we create the order, let's say for a couple, let's say 2 or 3 pallets, and then the customer decides to change that? Is there a way that we can update the order from our system? Do we have to go ahead and create a whole new one?
Sure. So what you want to do is go into, you've got this edit, which is a little deceiving. If you click on the edit, it's just going to allow you to update a pickup and phone number. Mm-hmm. But if you go to the hyperlink of the shipment, you can click on the shipment, and then you can go through and change the details that you need to. If you do need to change any weight or class, it will automatically prompt you to rerun the quote.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
So we'll have to do that, as well as any address changes there. It's recommended that if you've already auto dispatched it, because that information will be sent directly to the carrier. If it's already been auto dispatched, the best practice is probably just cancel the ship or cancel the bill rating and start over. If they've made a change to the address or something of that nature. But if you needed to add a reference number or special instructions, you can definitely go back and do that here. Or if you need to change the sell price, anything like that, you can go back here as well.
Oh, okay. It makes sense. It makes sense. So as long as it's not auto-dispatched, we will be able to make the changes and resend.
Yep. Yep.
Thanks.
You bet. So that's, in a nutshell, how you go in and get a quote and process a shipment. I'll show you 2 other nice things here. Let's go down to the dashboard, the active LTL and dashboard. And this is where, from an administrative standpoint, you can really have a good view of everything that's going on within the franchise on the shipment. Because you've got this tab here of not dispatched, pending pickup, in transit, so on and so forth. And then just some different maps I'll show you real quick as far as where shipments are typically picked up and delivered. And that'll all vary, of course, by the franchisee. But just to kind of show you, so not dispatched. Of course, it's one that we created. That one is not dispatched, but this is a good place to go and say, okay, do we have any shipments that aren't dispatched? Then you can look and see, okay, for example, hypothetically, this Tech 760, we know that they always auto-dispatch their shipments. So if you see one in here for them, you either give them a quick call or call the franchisee based on the operating procedure, and if need be, you can go ahead and auto-dispatch it from right there. Again, this is a good place to go and see different shipments. Then just next one over, pending pickups. You can go in there and just see what shipments are pending for that franchise that day. And then, of course, in transit, again, this gives you a good idea as far as what's currently in transit for the franchise, recent deliveries, and then another good one's recent inspection. So if something's been reweighed, reclassed, we'll have that information there. And these are the inspection certificates. again, directly from the carrier. So we'll just look at this one right here. This is the actual inspection certificate loaded into the carrier system, and the AccuTrade system will just get that electronically once it's available in the carrier system. There's no need to email or call a carrier to get a copy of the inspection certificate. I'd say 85% of the time those certificates are here in AccuTrade. Sometimes when the carrier is uploading a certificate, or DDI or API doesn't come through correctly, so you don't get to view all that information. So that's good.
I have a question. Sorry to interrupt. Most customers, ideally, they want their cargo to get it picked up on the same day they place the order, correct? Obviously, most of the companies in this business are facing the same problem with all the LTL carriers, which they don't have the capacity sometimes to pick up or to perform all the pickups in all the areas, and that's frustrating as well for us and for our customers. But do you have some kind of free follow-up with the carriers before they pick up, and you are aware of what the situation is with the load that specific day, so you can inform your customer what the status is, or how do you handle that?
We leave that to the franchisee. We typically recommend with new customers to make sure that they're doing that, where if they get an email notification that a shipment's been created, that they proactively work with the carrier to make sure that they can get by, just because of the reasons you've stated, right? Capacity issues, end of month issues, whatever's going on, that they could potentially have missed pickup. So that would again be a good question for the individual franchise that you work with, because they may have different processes. And I think a lot of good value add that you will bring is your recommendations. We've got, for example, Chris and Philip. They are very experienced. They're a mature franchise. They know freight very, very well. Some of the other franchises that we'll be working with will, if you have a suggestion, I'm sure that they will take that as something that they should implement. So I think that would be, good if you see ideas or gaps that you see in what their procedures are that would help them. I think that offering that advice, that will go a long way with the franchise.
Sure, we will. Thank you.
Yeah, you bet. So I just want to go back to AccuLTL and tracking, and I want to go to some shipments that are in transit or maybe delivered. So I'm just going to go forward a handful of pages and see if we can find an example here that help me out with what I want to show you. Okay. So on the screen here, and again, we're at the support center level, so we see all of the franchise shipments. At the individual franchise level, they're going to have far fewer shipments. It's going to be much easier to, kind of navigate and go from shipment to shipment. We're just very high level here. So, for example, on the bill of lading 523613, we've got bill of lading that's scanned into the carrier system. So this is actually bill of lading that was signed by the shipper and receiver. It's right there. So if someone needs a copy, they can go right there. Or, we get the request, we can go right there. We also have a copy of the delivery receipt, so we can go in and check and see if, possibly there was, let's just make that a little bigger. Looks like there was, they just certified that the shipment was delivered okay, but if there was a lift gate or extra service, that would be marked here. We can get here, the lift gate required for delivery, so that will just have that on there. So it's good to always have those documents handily available for our record. And then lastly, the other document here is the weight image. So this one was looks like tendered at 142 pounds and reweighed by the carrier 280. So again, really good information for us to have. Again, if the franchisee gives the system to the customer for them to be able to log in and do all this on their own, the customers have all this information right there. So they should be self-reliant as far as having everything they need at the tips of their fingers. Any questions on this as far as documents or tracking options?
question in regards to the documents and the freight audit process you got in place for each franchise. My only concern is how far your agents go and are involved on that freight audit of every shipment.
Yeah, good question. So we invoice once a week. So each Thursday afternoon, the support center here will send out an email notification to all the franchisees saying the invoices are in and ready to edit. And just information for you and your team, about 75% of our business currently is with DHL Express, so international small parcel shipment. The other 25% basically is LTL with a small amount being truckload and heavy air freight. So of course we want to grow that so we're more evenly diversified. So that we think that this partnership will help us achieve our goals. So that's why we're really excited about what your company has to offer and how we think that can really help our franchisees grow in confidence in selling freight because they're confident with the DHL piece, but many of them don't have a transportation background and they get kind of intimidated by the whole, LTL world and classification and that intimidation oftentimes, scares them off from potential good business that they could help grow their business and make more money. So yeah, that's why we're really excited about this. But that invoicing once a week, then you can go in and check invoices, and we'll go through our invoicing system on a different day. But that's when you can go in and each franchise again has their own process that they may have a few tweaks, but in general it's the same general process as far as making sure that the costs are what they should be. I'll show you in the recording in just a minute where you can go in and verify the cost of a shipment. So I'll maybe answer that question more deep in just a few minutes if that's okay.
Sure, no problem. Thanks, Steve.
Okay. You got it. And so I just one other thing I want to point out on the screen is I clicked on the tracking icon. And you can see whenever there was an update within the carrier system, that update or that scan changes when electronically sent over to the InXpress system. So you're not having to go back and forth to different carrier websites to get updates. So that's kind of the tracking piece. I will go over to the recording now, and then after that, any other questions we'll go through there, and then I'll show kind of how to set up a customer and a user, and that's kind of where we'll take it to that point. So under reports, and to kind of help on your question, the main report that I utilize and that we recommend franchisees to look at when they're editing invoices. You can see there's different things here. So, for example, if you end up canceling a bill of lading and then realize you need some information off of that, you can go to that section and either put in a date range, or if you remember the BOL number or a certain customer, you can put that in there and then click search and it'll pull up the bill of lading and then cancel in that time frame. So if bill of lading never actually completely leaves the system, but just once it's canceled, then we move to this section here. But if you go to report and then the transaction report, this is where you want to go when editing invoices.
Okay.
You can see this one right here is the one that we just did today. And so if you have a certain bill of lading number that you want to look up, you can just put that in there. And then click search, and it'll pull up that shipment. And then you can see, okay, it's got a quote number, the cost price, the InXpress cost, and then it's got the final sell price to the customer. So in the invoice editing process, this is a good place to go in and check either by bill of lading number, or it'll be much easier at the franchisee level that you go to a specific customer right there. And you can make your date range. If you want to go back, make sure you capture everything within a couple months, you could do that. And then click search, and then pull all of the shipments within that date range you're looking for and edit. Make sure that the prices are correct. If they're not correct at that point, then you would want to go and reach out to, in this case, GLT, and say, hey, the price is quoted at $264.07, but it came in at $315. See any inspection certificates. There's nothing marked on the delivery receipt. Help us out here, then I'll get back to you. GLT is very quick, within an hour or two, and say, here's what we found. And then from there, you'll need to know if that's something you need to dispute or not. So I'd say in most cases, if there's a reweigh, reclass, from customer or franchise to franchise. But in general, if there's something like that, in the editing of the invoice, they would just edit the sell price, make sure their margins are what they should be, and then they would add notes like, reweigh to 1,250 pounds from 1,000 pounds. So the customer knows, the price went up, but here's the reason why. But for example, if there's like a liftgate fee that they charge us for, but we know the service wasn't used or wasn't marked on the delivery receipt, then we can dispute that with GLT, and GLT could go to the carrier and dispute that fee, and then we can get that worked out from there.
I have a question there, Steve. I know you guys probably have that relationship with GLT. Most of the times, you probably are going to go through them before going to the carrier because actually you're using a carrier through them. But how does that relationship work? It works all the time good, or you guys go way beyond that and contact the carrier directly if they don't solve your situation or your problem?
Yeah, I would say, so if you went to, so take that scenario, liftgate was charged, it's not on the delivery receipt, it wasn't included with the customer, promises there when the liftgate used. GLT says, no, the fee was charged, we can't get it removed. At that point, my recommendation would be reach out to myself and Michelle, and we can escalate it from there. We would then go to our contact at GLT and escalate it through their chain of command. We wouldn't ever go directly to the carrier in a case that involves pricing, because that could potentially damage the carrier and GLT's relationship in that scenario.
Sure.
And if there's a question on a service that's outside of a fee, like if you just want to confirm, like you'd say, hey, if you call this case Exit and say, this is Steve, I need to verify that because we don't see any notifications of liftgates being needed, requested, or signed for. We try to make sure that was used on the ship, and they would go back and check. So they could check again the logistics side, but pricing we always want to go through our partners, our carrier providers.
All right, perfect. Thank you.
You bet. Okay, so any other questions on the reporting? Again, there's other reports here. You can look at the performance of, who the franchise uses the most as far as what care providers. But the one that, again, I use the most is the transaction report. And if you wanted to build a special report, that's possible as well. And we can address that probably different time. That's a little more in depth. But the transaction report meets all the needs that I have as a franchisee to make sure that my quoted amount and invoice amount is coming through correctly. So with no questions, we'll go into one more. We'll show you how to set up an account and a user. I think we've scheduled to go until about 4:30 your time today, so about 30-35 minutes. So we'll probably just end today with this AccuFreight, and then we'll cover the Marsh piece either tomorrow or Friday in one of our other training sessions, just so we keep the time that we've committed to. I know it's close to the end of the day for your team, so we don't want to keep you around later than need be. So to set up a customer, all we need to do is go to Admin, Customer, and then Add New. So now we've got this new screen that we can go in and set up the customer. Once we've got the general information in here, we can click save. So we've got everything over here on the left-hand side. If you've got email addresses, you can put that in. We don't typically see many seller fax numbers listed, but if you've got that, you can put that in. If the customer has a logo that they want to have show the bill of lading, you can put that to your desktop and import the logo right there. There's price per BOL. I would say I've never seen anybody put a fee in there. The margins are added in different spots. So for the most part, I don't see anybody changing anything here. This customer reference code, this is a critical one. So this is going to be the customer account number for InXpress. So when the customer gets set up in our billing system, it gets assigned an InXpress account number. And we need to take that InXpress account number and put that in this customer reference code field. What this does when we do our invoicing, this allows us to pull the invoices from our partner, dump it into our invoicing system, and it'll automatically go down to the franchise and their customers level to be invoiced out. So this is a critical piece here to make sure we've got the customer reference code put in this information in this field here. A question was asked earlier, how do we get notified when the shipment's gotten created? This is where you go in and put, like for example, Kristen and Phillips, I believe they're going to have a specific freight email account. I created it would be like their franchise number, like 144freight@inexpress.com. And then you would have your team of whoever's helping their franchise would have access to that email. So you put your email address in here so that each time a shipment was created, you get that notification. This is dim customer. Again, ignore that. I've never seen that click. That's just basically going to remove the classification which isn't applicable to us. So we don't want to ever click anything. We don't ever want to click that box. We've got information in here. We've got our account number, and you can add your email address. And that's still there. Once that's in there, just click save. And then it's going to open us up some additional tabs here. If you're on the same page, you haven't clicked anywhere. So now we can just go to these different tabs and update some information.